Hi everyone, Jason from No Code V8. In this video we're going to look at storage from Zapier. So storage from Zapier is a utility that you can use in your Zaps, and it enables you to store little bits of information that you can use in subsequent steps of the Zap or even in other Zaps. So we're going to have a look at that, we're going to have a look at why you might use that, and we're going to create some Zaps that will use the storage. Okay, in the scenario we're going to look at an example of an event where we're giving away free tickets. So every day we're going to give away free tickets for the first 3 people that sign up. Anyone after that will not get the free ticket, but that will reset every day so we can give away tickets. So we have a basic spreadsheet here, and we have 4 people in here that we're going to work with that are registering for this event. And what we're going to do is that we're going to use the storage from Zapier to determine how many people have signed up for that day. Okay. So this is the data we'll be using, and we'll have a look at the Zap we're going to use and how we can determine how many people have signed up using Zapier Storage. Okay, so this is the Zap, and it's collecting information from a Google form. The Google form is right into this spreadsheet that we've just looked at, and this is going to collect information every time an entry goes into here. We're going to collect it in here. This is going to be the trigger for the Zap. So we just have a look at that quickly. It's just a basic trigger that happens anytime a Google form is filled in, and the trigger is a new event registration. So anytime someone fills that in and it goes into that spreadsheet, this Zap will run. Okay, so let's just start and let's get an example. So if we just go back to this one here, we go to test trigger, and we're going to find in this example here, we're going to start at the top and we're going to find John. So John is the first person to sign up. So imagine this record has just come into Zapier. This is the data here. We're going to continue here. And then this is the storage component. So all you need to do is add a new step and just search for storage by Zapier, and you will be prompted for this information. So what we want to do in storage by Zapier, we have some different events here, and there's quite a lot you can do. We're just interested in incrementing a value. So this just means every time this runs, we're going to increment a value. So if we just continue for that, so that's the action, the account. So when you first set this up, you'll be prompted to create a storage account with Zapier. Now this is different to your Zapier account. It's all tied together, but this is a different account, and you'll need a password to set that up, but then you have the storage set up and you can use it. So the action here, we want to create a record of how many people sign up. So we just create a key called attendees. So I've just called this attendees, and the increment is 1. So every time this runs, it's going to add 1 to this value. So it will start from 0. The first person that signs up, it will increment till 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. So let's just run this through now then. So if we just run the test now, we should be at 0, so it should increment to just 1. Okay, so John has just signed up, the value is 1, and we're going to continue. And now we have a step here. If they're successful, so i.e. if they're the first 3, we're going to have a step here at the bottom that updates the spreadsheet to say they get the free ticket. If they're not successful, i.e. they're not the first 3, then we're not going to update this. So to determine that, we have a filter in the middle, and all we're doing is saying if the value is less than 4, so if this value that we're incrementing is less than 4, then continue. So this is going to evaluate, and it says it would have continued. We know the value is 1, which is less than 4, so we can continue, and then this would run. And if we click test action here, we can see it's updated this to say yes, John got the free ticket. Okay, so what happens now when this runs again? So let's just try that. So if we go back to test trigger, and again we're just going to take the next response here, we're just going to run through it like this. So the next person that signs up is Paul. Okay, so we click OK, and then it will run through this step here. and it's going to increment the value again by 1. So the value is now 2, and we can continue here. So again, we're going to evaluate, is it less than 4? If we continue, we know it is, so it's going to continue, and now it's going to update the record here. Okay, so Paul is in the party, and we'll just run through this again. So let's choose George here, so the next person here, D, and again we're going to increment this step here. So the value is now 3, and of course it's less than 4, so it's going to continue. And now we're just going to update this one. So this would have run and it would have updated, and so we have the first 3 in here. So all the free tickets for the day have gone now. So what happens when Paul Ringo decides to sign up? So let's do that. Let's run through that. So we're now chosen Ringo, and we click here. We're going to increment the value. So it's going to increment to 4 now. And of course, when it gets to here, because it's not less than 4, that is going to fail. And because it fails, it's not going to run an update. So we know that Ringo's signed up for the event, but he hasn't got a free ticket. He wasn't the first 3. So that's great. So that's all working. So remember, we want to do this every day, and we want to take the first 3 people every day. So now we need to reset that value. So the value is at 4. We want to reset that value. So what we need to do that is another Zap. And if we jump across here, we'll have a look at this. So this is a simple Zap that just resets that storage every day. So the first trigger is just a schedule. So we're just choosing the Zapier schedule to run every day, and we're going to trigger it to run at midnight every day. Okay, so that's going to run, and then we're going back and we're using storage by Zapier, but this time we're choosing set value. So we want to set a value for something that we have stored. Okay, so we're choosing Zapier set value, and the action is going to be, remember when we set up the incremental stage, we called it attendees. So now we're going to reference attendees, and we're going to say set the value to 0. Okay, so now we're just going to test that action. It's going to run, and it's going to set it to 0. So imagine now it's the next day, and Ringo is going to try again. So let's just run Ringo through now and see what would have happened. So we've got Ringo. Remember, he failed before because there was 3 already, because this value is too high. So Ringo runs, it increments the value, and because it's set to 0 now, he's going to set this to 1. So he's the first person of that day. We can run through here now, and we can test that, and this is going to pass. Sorry, that's a mistake. And so we can test this action now here, and hopefully Ringo will be accepted, and he is. So that's it. So it's reset for the day, and so we'll accept the first 3, and we can just keep doing that and iterating through that. So that's one example of using storage. So it's just a way to store information that you can then use in steps like this, so in the next step, but you can also use it in other Zaps as well. Another example is if you want to count how many leads you've had for the day, then you could count that and then send an email when it reaches at the end of the day, and then reset it the next day, something like that. So very useful little utility. I hope that gives you enough information. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know, and I'll do my best to answer. Thanks for listening.